Kim Tae-ho walked through the long silver hallway that led to the Galactic Council chamber. His footsteps echoed against the smooth walls that seemed to glow with their own light. He had made this walk 3,000 times over the past 20 years, but today felt different. Today felt like the end of something important. The massive doors opened before him without a sound. They were made from some alien metal that sparkled like stars. The chamber beyond was enormous, a perfect circle with seats arranged in rings that went up toward the ceiling like a giant bowl turned upside down. Each section was designed for different alien species. Some needed water, others needed special gases to breathe. The human section was small and plain. Compared to the others, Kim took his seat in the Terran section. It was just a simple chair made from Earth materials. The aliens had always made sure humans knew their place. The chair was positioned lower than the others, so Kim had to look up at most of the other delegates. He had complained about this many times over the years, but the council always had excuses around him. The chamber filled with the sounds of 47 different alien species. The Vorthan delegates made wet bubbling noises as they talked. The Nexari produced musical chimes that hurt human ears. The massive Kelleron representatives stomped their forelegs as they walked, making the floor shake. The Drachmori moved like shadows, silent and smooth. Their black forms seemed to absorb light. Kim opened his briefcase and took out the papers for today's proposal. It was simple, really. Humanity wanted equal voting rights in trade route decisions. Human ships carried more cargo than any other species. Human engineers had built most of the space stations in this sector of the galaxy. Human soldiers had fought and died in 12 different wars to protect alien worlds. Yet humans still only got one vote out of 48. The council speaker called the session to order. It was a Vorthan. This year, a slug-like creature with 6 eyes arranged around its head. The eyes never blinked, which made Kim uncomfortable even after all these years. The first item on the agenda was trade route security. Human pirates I had been attacking ships near the outer rim. The Kelleron delegate stood up on its forelegs. Its voice was deep and rumbling like distant thunder. The human species continues to prove they cannot control their own people. These pirates shame the entire Terran population. Perhaps it is time to remove human ships from these routes entirely. Kim felt heat rise in his face. Human pirates. The attacks were being carried out by rebels from the Kelleron Empire using stolen human ship designs, but every time Kim tried to explain this, the council ignored him. The Nexari delegate chimed in with its crystalline voice. Its body was made of living diamond that caught and reflected the chamber's light. We have always said that primitive species require more supervision. The humans clearly need our guidance in these matters. Primitive, the word stung every time Kim heard it. Humans had developed faster than light travel on their own. They had created artificial intelligence that surpassed most alien computers. They had built cities that floated in space and weapons that could crack moons in half. Yet the aliens still called them primitive. Kim raised his hand to speak. The speaker acknowledged him with what might have been annoyance. The attacks are not being carried out by human pirates, Kim said, keeping his voice steady. We have evidence that shows stolen ships and forged identification codes. The real pirates are using human technology to hide their true identities. Laughter filled the chamber. The wet, bubbling sound of Vorthan amusement mixed with the tinkling of Nexari mirth. Even the usually serious Drachmori made soft hissing sounds that passed for laughter among their kind. The Kelleron delegate spoke again. How convenient that humans claim innocence when their own ships are caught in criminal acts. This is exactly why primitive species should not be trusted with advanced technology. More laughter. Kim gripped the edge of his desk. His knuckles turned white. Primitive species, advanced technology. Human engineers had designed the artificial gravity systems that kept this very station from spinning apart. Human scientists had developed the translation systems that let all these different species communicate. Human doctors had created the medical treatments that had saved millions of alien lives during the plague wars, yet they still called humans primitive. Speaker moved to the next agenda item. This was the one Kim had been waiting for. Humanity wanted equal representation. In the Trade Route Authority, human ships moved 60% of all cargo in the galaxy, but humans only had a minor voice in decisions about where new routes could be established. Kim stood up again and presented his proposal. The facts were simple. Human ships were faster and more reliable than alien vessels. Human crews worked longer hours for less pay. Human colonies were strategically located along the major trade lanes. Giving humanity equal voting power would benefit everyone. The Vorthan speaker looked at Kim with all 6 eyes. It was unsettling, but Kim had learned not to show weakness. The council has reviewed this request many times. The answer remains the same. Voting power is based on species development level and cultural advancement. Humanity has not yet reached the required standards. Cultural advancement. Kim wanted to scream. What did that even mean? Human art and music were traded across the galaxy. Human literature was studied in alien universities. Human philosophy had influenced 3 different species to change their entire government systems. The Nexari delegate decided to speak. Its voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. Humans show promise, but they still display too many primitive instincts: violence, competition, individual achievement. These traits make them unsuitable for equal partnership in galactic governance. Violence. Kim thought about the human soldiers who had died defending Nexari colonies during the Shadow War competition. He thought about human companies that had shared their technologies freely with alien partners, individual achievement. He thought about human scientists who had worked in teams to solve problems that had puzzled the galaxy for centuries. The Drakmori representative glided forward to speak. Its voice was whisper quiet but somehow filled the entire chamber. Perhaps humans could be given observer status in a few more centuries. For now they serve best as workers and soldiers under proper guidance. Observer status after 200 years of loyal service to the galactic community, after building half the infrastructure that kept galactic civilization running, after losing millions of lives in alien wars, humans deserved observer status. The final insult came from an unexpected source. The Remnari delegate rarely spoke. They were an ancient species that claimed to have seen the rise and fall of dozens of civilizations. Their representative was so old that it needed a special chair to support its fragile body. A species like humanity must learn patience. The Remnari spoke in a voice like autumn leaves. The galaxy has existed for billions of years. A few centuries of apprenticeship will benefit them greatly. They should be grateful for our guidance and protection. Kim felt something cold and hard settle in his chest like a stone. Grateful for being treated like children, grateful for being mocked and dismissed, grateful for having their achievements ignored and their proposals rejected. Around the chamber, alien delegates nodded in agreement. Some whispered among themselves, pointing at Kim with expressions that might have been pity or amusement. The massive Kelleron delegate let out what sounded like approval. The Nexari produced harmony of chimes that clearly indicated satisfaction. Kim looked around the chamber at the 47 alien faces staring at him. Some showed mild interest, others barely concealed boredom. A few looked almost sympathetic, but none would speak up for humanity. None would challenge the established order. 20 years Kim had sat in this chamber. 20 years of being talked down to, 20 years of watching human achievements be dismissed, 20 years of being called primitive by species who relied on human technology to keep their civilizations running. He thought about the human colonies spread across 1,000 worlds. He thought about human ships carrying alien goods through dangerous space. He thought about human engineers working day and night to maintain alien space stations. He thought about human families who had never seen Earth because they were busy building a better galaxy for everyone, and still they called humans primitive. Still they laughed at human proposals. Still they treated Earth like a wayward child that needed constant supervision. Kim slowly closed his briefcase. The sound seemed unnaturally loud in the sudden quiet of the chamber. Every alien eye turned toward him as he stood up. His chair scraped against the floor. The sound echoed through the vast space. Something fundamental had changed in that moment. Kim could feel it in his bones. The cold stone in his chest had grown larger, heavier. It pressed against his heart and made breathing difficult. 20 years of diplomacy, 20 years of patience, 20 years of hoping that respect could be earned through service and sacrifice. A lot of it had led to this moment. To being called primitive one more time, to watching alien delegates laugh at human ambition, to sitting in a chair positioned lower than all the others, like a reminder of humanity's place in the galactic hierarchy. Kim looked around the chamber one final time at the species. Humanity had served faithfully for 2 centuries at the beings who had dismissed human contributions and mocked human dreams. At the civilizations that had grown fat and comfortable on human labor and sacrifice. The time for patience had ended. Kim Tae-ho stood perfectly still beside his chair. The chamber had grown quiet as 47 pairs of alien eyes watched him. The silence stretched on like a held breath. Everyone seemed to sense that something important was about to happen, but none of them understood what the Vorthan speaker shifted in its wet chair, making soft bubbling sounds. Its 6 eyes blinked one after another in a pattern that showed confusion. Why was the human still standing? Why was he not sitting back down after being dismissed again? Kim reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small device. It was made from earth steel and looked simple compared to the glowing alien technology that filled the chamber. The device was a recording unit that would send his words directly to Earth and to every human colony in the galaxy. He activated the device with a soft click. The tiny red light showed it was working. Everything he said now would be heard by 12 billion humans scattered across 1,000 worlds. "Have an announcement to make," Kim said. His voice was calm and steady. It carried clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems designed to amplify speech from every species. The Kelleran delegate made a rumbling sound that indicated annoyance. "The human has already spoken. The matter is closed. There is no need for further discussion." Kim ignored the interruption. He looked slowly around the chamber, meeting the gaze of every delegate who would look back at him. Some turned away, uncomfortable with his direct stare. Others leaned forward, curious about what the human would say after 200 years of faithful service. Kim began, his words echoing in the vast space. "Humanity has served this council with loyalty, dedication, and sacrifice. We have built your space stations, we have defended your worlds, we have carried your goods across dangerous space. We have shared our knowledge, our resources, and our lives." The Nexari delegate produced a series of sharp chimes that translated roughly to impatience. "Where is this leading human? We have other matters to discuss." Kim continued as if he had not heard. "Humanity has asked for nothing more than equal treatment, equal representation, equal respect. We have followed every protocol, obeyed Every law honored, every treaty. We have tried to earn our place at this table through service. A few aliens began to whisper among themselves. The Drakmori representative glided closer to the center of the chamber, its black form moving like liquid shadow. The Remnari delegate shifted in its ancient chair, making creaking sounds. Today, humanity makes a final request, Kim said, raising his voice slightly. We ask one more time for equal voting rights in trade route decisions. We ask for fair representation. Based on our contributions to galactic civilization, we ask to be treated as partners, not as supervised children. The chamber erupted in various forms of alien laughter, the wet bubbling of Warthons mixed with the tinkling chimes of Nexari. The massive Kelleron delegates stomped their feet, making the floor vibrate. Even some of the smaller species joined in with their own sounds of amusement. The laughter went on for nearly a minute. Kim stood silently waiting for it to die down. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt something cold and hard growing stronger. The stone in his chest seemed to pulse with each burst of alien mirth. Finally, the Vorthan speaker called for order. The laughter faded to scattered chuckles and whispers. The answer is the same as always. Human, your species is not ready for equal partnership. Perhaps in another century or two, when humanity has learned proper civilized behavior. Kim nodded slowly, as if he had expected exactly that response. He looked down at the recording device in his hand, making sure the red light was still glowing. Very well, Kim said, his voice still perfectly calm. Then humanity withdraws. Its request relief seemed to flow through the chamber. Several delegates made sounds of satisfaction. The crisis was over. The human had accepted their decision. Once again, everything could return to normal. But Kim was not finished speaking. Humanity also withdraws from this council, Kim said in the same calm, steady voice. We renounce our membership. Effective immediately, the laughter stopped as if someone had thrown a switch. The chamber fell into complete silence. 47 alien delegates stared at the human ambassador in shock. The Vorthan speaker opened and closed its mouth, making no sound. Alkim continued in his measured tone. Humanity hereby withdraws from all galactic treaties, including the Mutual Defense Pact, the Trade Regulation Agreement, and the Technology Sharing Compact. The Kelleran delegate found its voice first. Surely, you are not serious, human. Your species depends entirely on Council protection. You cannot survive alone in the galaxy. Kim looked directly at the four-eyed giant. I am completely serious. Furthermore, humanity withdraws from all cooperative ventures, all joint research projects, all shared infrastructure programs, all mutual aid agreements. The Nexari delegate produced a series of discordant chimes that hurt to hear. This is madness, human. Your species will collapse without our guidance. You will be defenseless against pirates and raiders. Kim smiled for the first time that day. It was not a pleasant smile. We will see about that. The Drakmori representative spoke in its whisper, quiet voice. Perhaps the human does not understand the consequences of what he proposes. Without council membership, humanity will have no protection, no trade partners, no access to galactic resources. Kim looked around the chamber one more time at all the shocked alien faces. Oh, I understand perfectly. The question is whether you understand the consequences. The ancient Remnari delegate struggled to speak, its voice crackling with age. This is rash, young human. Your species is making a terrible mistake. You should reconsider while there is still time. Kim shook his head. Time ran out about 20 minutes ago when you called us primitive children who should be grateful for your guidance. The Vorthan speaker tried to regain control of the situation. Surely we can discuss this like civilized beings. The human is clearly upset. Perhaps we were too harsh in our judgment. Too harsh. Kim repeated the word slowly. You have spent 2 centuries treating humanity like pets who occasionally do useful tricks. You mock our achievements, dismiss our contributions, and laugh at our proposals. You call us primitive while living in stations we built, traveling on routes we mapped, using technologies we developed. The chamber remained silent. Every delegate seemed frozen in place, unsure how to respond to this unprecedented situation. Kim turned to face the recording device directly, ensuring his words would be clearly transmitted to every human world. To my fellow humans who are listening to this broadcast, know that your representatives on Earth have already been informed of this decision. All human ships are to return immediately to human space. All human personnel are to evacuate alien facilities within 72 hours. All cooperative agreements are null and void. As of this moment, he paused, letting the words sink in both for the listening humans and the stunned aliens in the chamber. The Galactic Council has made it clear that they view humanity as primitive children who need constant supervision. They have refused to treat us as equals despite 2 centuries of loyal service. Therefore, humanity chooses to leave their table. Kim clicked off the recording device and put it back in his pocket. The red light went dark. The transmission was complete. Every human in the galaxy now knew that the HFY subservience was over. The Kelleran delegate stood up on its 4 legs, towering over the human section. Your species will not survive a year without council protection. You are making the greatest mistake in human history. Kim gathered his papers and put them in his briefcase. He closed it with a soft snap that seemed unnaturally loud in the silent chamber. We survived for thousands of years before we met you, Kim said, looking up at the massive alien. We built interstellar civilization. Without your help, we explored the galaxy and established colonies on 100 worlds. Before we ever heard of this council. He stood and straightened his jacket, preparing to leave the Greatest mistake in human history was believing that we needed your approval. To succeed, Kim walked toward the chamber doors. They opened before him with their usual silent grace. Behind him, 47 alien delegates sat in stunned silence, trying to process what had just happened. At the doorway, Kim turned back one final time. You wanted to know if humanity was civilized enough for equal partnership. You will have your answer soon enough. When your space stations go dark, when your trade routes collapse, when your economies crumble, you will learn exactly how primitive we really are. The doors closed behind him with a soft whisper, leaving the Galactic Council chamber in chaos. Delegates began shouting at each other in dozens of different languages. The careful order that had ruled the galaxy for millennia was beginning to crackle. In his quarters above the chamber, Kim Tae-ho began packing for the journey home to a humanity that was about to show the galaxy what humans could really do when they stopped playing by someone else's rules. Captain Lee Minesio stood on the bridge at the cargo ship New Seoul, watching the stars blur past the viewscreen. She had been running cargo between the Kelleran Empire and the Nexari Federation for 8 years. It was good work that paid well and kept her crew busy, but today everything was different. The message from Earth had come through 3 hours ago. All human ships were to return to human space immediately. All contracts with alien governments were cancelled. All trade agreements were void. The age of serving alien masters was over. Lee had read the message 5 times before she believed it. She had listened to Ambassador Kim Tae-ho's speech twice. Her hands shook as she realized what this meant. The Galactic Council had pushed humanity too far, and now they would pay the price. Navigator Park Jamin looked up from his console. Captain, we have 47 ships in our convoy. All human captains are asking for confirmation of the recall. Orderly nodded. Send the confirmation. All ships are to dump their alien cargo at the nearest station and return to Earth space immediately. No exceptions. But, Captain Park said, his voice worried, we have contracts. The aliens will sue us for breach of agreement. They could seize our ships. Let them try, Lee replied. Her voice was hard as steel. The age of being afraid of alien lawyers is over. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kim Boyoung was already working. The recall order meant more than just going home. It meant revealing technology that humans had kept secret for decades while alien species argued in council chambers. Human engineers had been quietly developing improvements that made their ships faster, stronger, and more efficient. Boyoung opened a sealed panel that had never been touched during alien inspections. Inside were controls that could boost the ship's engines to nearly twice their normal power. The technology was based on principles that alien scientists claimed were impossible, but humans had made the impossible work. She activated the hidden systems and felt the ship surge forward. The stars outside began moving faster. The other human ships in the convoy were doing the same thing. Alien observers would be getting sensor readings that made no sense. Bridge Lee watched her navigation display with satisfaction. They were moving at speeds that should have torn the ship apart according to alien physics. But human engineers had solved problems that alien scientists said could not be solved. Incoming message from Kelleran Control. Park reported they are demanding we maintain our scheduled delivery to their homeworld. Lee smiled coldly. Put them on screen. The view screen flickered and showed the bridge of a Kelleran command ship for aliens. With too many eyes stared at her with expressions of anger and confusion. Human vessel, you are deviating from your approved flight plan. Return to course immediately. Lee looked directly into the camera. I am Captain Lee Minesio of the Earth vessel New Seoul. As of today, all human ships are returning to human space. Your cargo contracts are cancelled. The lead Kelleran stepped closer to their camera, its 4 eyes narrowing. This is unacceptable. You have legal obligations. You cannot simply abandon your duties. Watch us, Lee said, and cut the transmission. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Human cargo ships carrying alien goods simply stopped in space and began dumping their loads. Valuable materials that had been destined for alien worlds were left floating in empty space. Human captains sent brief messages explaining that their contracts were void. Economic shockwave hit the major alien worlds within hours. The Vorthan homeworld relied on human ships to deliver food from agricultural colonies. When those ships turned around and headed for Earth space, the Vorthans suddenly faced starvation. The government sent angry messages demanding that the humans honor their agreements, but the human ships kept flying away. The Nexari Federation discovered that 60% of their luxury goods came through human trade networks. When those networks shut down, the crystal beings found themselves with warehouses full of products they could not sell, and no way to get raw materials for their factories. Nexari merchants who had grown rich from human efficiency watched their fortunes collapse overnight. But the real disaster struck the Kelleran Empire. They had built their military might on a foundation of human labor and human engineering. Human mechanics kept their ships running. Human technicians maintained their weapons systems. Human engineers designed their space stations. When the humans left, everything began to break down. Admiral Tor Kelleran of the Imperial Fleet stood in his command center watching disaster reports flood in from across the empire. Half his ships were stranded because human engineers had taken their tools and knowledge with them. The great orbital shipyards above the capital world had gone dark when human technical staff evacuated. His communication officer approached nervously. Admiral, we are receiving reports from 17 sectors. Our fleets are experiencing critical system failures. Without human technical support, we cannot maintain combat readiness. How long before we lose operational capability?" the admiral asked. The officer checked his reports. "At current failure rates, approximately 6 days, sir. 6 days. Tora had commanded fleets for 30 years. He had fought in 8 wars and conquered 12 worlds, but he had never faced an enemy like this. How do you fight people who simply walk away and let your civilization collapse under its own weight?" On Earth, Ambassador Park Minho was fielding communication requests from every major alien government. The Galactic Council had gone into emergency session 3 times in 2 days. Alien delegates who had laughed at human proposals were now begging for negotiation. Park sat in his office in Seoul, looking out at the city where 12 million humans lived and worked. None of them had ever needed alien permission to build their towers or run their factories or create their art. But somehow humanity had been convinced that they needed galactic approval to be successful. His secretary announced another call. Park, this time from the Drakmori Shadow Council. They want to discuss terms for resuming trade relationships. Park shook his head. No more calls. Today we listen to them panic. Tomorrow we start thinking about what humanity wants to do next. The panic was spreading faster than anyone had expected. The Remnari Confederacy had discovered that their ancient computer systems relied on human programming. Human software engineers had spent decades writing code that kept alien civilizations running. When that code stopped being updated, systems began to crash. Space stations throughout the galaxy started experiencing problems. Human engineers had designed the artificial gravity systems, the air recycling plants, the power distribution networks. When humans stopped maintaining these systems, everything began breaking down. The orbital city above Nixari Prime lost gravity in 3 sections, forcing 60,000 crystal beings to evacuate. The great trade hub at Kelleron Station saw its main reactor go into emergency shutdown when human technicians refused to perform scheduled maintenance. Ambassador Kim Tae-ho received a personal message from the Vorthan speaker, the same alien who had laughed at human proposals just days before. The message was brief and desperate. Honorable human representative, perhaps we were too hasty in our previous discussions. The Council would be willing to reconsider humanity's request for increased representation. Deleted the message without responding. On human worlds across the galaxy, people watched the news with satisfaction and amazement. They had been told for 2 centuries that they needed alien protection and guidance, but now they were seeing the truth. The aliens needed humanity far more than humans had ever needed them. Captain Choi Sung-ho commanded a human mining operation in the Outer Rim. His crews had been extracting rare minerals that were essential for alien technology. When the recall order came, he faced a choice. He could abandon the mining station or he could hold it for humanity. He chose to hold it. The alien corporations that owned legal rights to the system sent angry messages demanding that the humans leave, but Choi had. I discovered something interesting in the old survey records. The system had been discovered by human explorers. The aliens had claimed it only after humans had done all the dangerous work of mapping and surveying. We were here first, Choi told his crew. We found this place. We built this station. We extracted these minerals. If anyone has a legal claim, it's us. His crew agreed unanimously. They had spent years working in dangerous conditions to make alien corporations rich. Now it was time to work for themselves. Similar decisions were being made throughout human space. Colonies that had been established by human settlers but claimed by alien governments suddenly declared independence. Mining operations built by human workers announced that they were now human territory. Trade stations constructed with human labor refused to acknowledge alien ownership. The galaxy was learning a painful lesson. Civilizations built on the labor of others are fragile things. When the workers decide to leave, everything falls apart, and humanity was just getting started. Admiral Lee Soyoung stood in the command center of the Earth's defense force, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for departure. 1,000 ships floated in formation around Luna base, ships that had never been seen by alien eyes, ships that used technology the Galactic Council believed impossible. For 200 years humanity had hidden its true capabilities. The aliens thought they knew everything about human military power. They had seen human patrol ships and escort vessels. They had watched human crews fight alongside alien forces in a dozen wars, but they had never seen what humans could build when they stopped holding back. Soyoung activated the fleet communication system. All ships, this is Admiral Lee Soyoung. Today we begin Operation New Horizon. For the first time in human history, our fleets will explore beyond the galactic border. We will show the universe what humanity can achieve when we stop asking for permission. The response came from 1,000 ship captains, simultaneously ready to make history. Admiral, the first ship to activate its new drive system was the flagship Seoul's Pride. Captain Choi Dong-wook had volunteered to test the experimental engines that human scientists claimed could fold space itself. The aliens had always said such technology was theoretically impossible, but human engineers had made it work. Choi engaged the drive and felt reality bend around his ship. The stars outside twisted into impossible shapes as space folded like paper. The Seoul's Pride moved from Earth orbit to the edge of human space in less than 3 minutes, a journey that should have taken 6 hours using conventional faster-than-light engine Sol ships engage experimental drives. Soyoung ordered one by one. The human fleet activated drives that bent the laws of physics. Each ship disappeared from one location and reappeared somewhere else, moving across vast distances in the time it took to blink. The formation that had surrounded Lunar Base was suddenly scattered across a dozen star systems. The aliens who detected these movements could not believe their sensor readings. Human ships were moving at speeds that made their fastest vessels look like they were standing still. Ships appeared out of nowhere, jumped across impossible distances, and vanished again before alien sensors could get accurate readings. On the Kelleran homeworld, Admiral Tora was studying reports from his reconnaissance ships. The data made no sense according to everything they knew about human technologies, sir, one of his officers reported. Our deep space sensors are detecting massive energy signatures from human space. The readings suggest some kind of advanced propulsion system, but the energy levels are beyond anything in our database. How is this possible? Tor demanded. The humans have never shown this kind of capability. They use simple chemical rockets and basic fusion drives. The officer looked uncomfortable. Sir, it appears we may have underestimated human technological development. Meanwhile, the human fleet was discovering just how far their technology had advanced beyond alien capabilities. Captain Park Hae-jin commanded the exploration ship New Busan. Her mission was to test human sensor systems against alien stealth technology. The results were shocking. Human sensors could detect alien ships that thought they were invisible. Human computers could break alien encryption codes in minutes. Human weapons could target enemy vessels across distances that alien targeting systems could not even measure. Park sent a report back to Admiral Soyoung. The aliens have been using the same basic technology for centuries while we kept innovating. We can see them, but they cannot see us. We can hit them from ranges where they cannot hit back. If it came to a fight, it would not even be close. But the most shocking discovery came from Captain Yoon Ji-woo, commander of the research vessel Solstar. Her ship had been sent to investigate reports of alien military buildups near human space. What she found was an entire Kelleran battle fleet trying to intercept human ships. The alien fleet consisted of 200 warships, including their newest and most powerful vessels. They had positioned themselves along what they thought were human escape routes. The Kelleran commanders believed they could force the humans to negotiate by threatening their fleeing ships. Yoon watched the alien fleet through her advanced sensors. They had no idea she was there. The human stealth systems made her ship completely invisible to alien detection. The Kellerans were searching for ships they could not see using sensors that could not find them. She decided to give them a demonstration of human capabilities, activated her ship's communication system, and sent a message directly to the Kelleran flagship. This is Captain Yoon Ji-woo of the Earth vessel Solstar. You are trespassing in human space. Please withdraw immediately. The alien fleet went into high alert. 200 ships began searching frantically for the source of the transmission. Their sensors showed nothing but empty space. Kelleran Admiral Grak responded angrily. Human ships, show yourself. Stop using coward tactics and face us in honorable combat. Yoon smiled. She engaged her ship's visibility systems, allowing the aliens to see her vessel for exactly 3 seconds. The Solstar appeared directly in the center of the Kelleran formation, close enough to ram their flagship. Then it vanished. Again, the alien fleet panicked. Ships began firing in all directions, trying to hit a target they could not see. Several Kelleran vessels accidentally shot each other in the confusion. The perfect military formation dissolved into chaos as captains tried to find an enemy that could appear and disappear at will while the Kellerans were shooting at shadows. Yoon moved her ship to a position behind their fleet. She reappeared long enough to send another message. You have 30 seconds to begin withdrawing, or I will demonstrate human weapons technology. Admiral Grak was furious. Impossible. Your single ship cannot threaten our entire fleet. We have 200 vessels. You are one. Yoon armed her experimental weapons systems. Human scientists had developed projectiles that could punch through any known armor and energy beams that could slice through starship hulls like paper. The Solstar carried enough firepower to destroy the entire Kelleran fleet, but